hold it right, try to hold it right in the middle. Let your brakes out before you squeeze the trigger.
Hey guys, today we're taking a look at some replacement iron sights for the Marlin 795. Now these sights are from Tech Sights. These are called aperture or peep style sights. And what that means is that in the back here you have a circle or a hole, or aka a peep sight, and then in the front you have your typical front sight post basically. And they're both protected by these ears, which is pretty nice. And I did do an installation video on these a long time ago. It's pretty simple. Really all you do is this clamps on to the scope base here, and then in the front you just take the screw out and then screw the new one in. It's pretty simple. You can check that out. It's on my channel if you want to check it out. Now if you've never used aperture or peep sights before, these are my first pair. This is kind of how it works, and I'm no professional artist here, but let's see what I can do here. Let's say this is the rear sight. What you want to do is divide it in half horizontally like this, and do the same thing vertically like this, and then that's basically where you want to put your front sight. You can actually do this right here. Kind of like that. And there you go. I know it's terrible looking, but I took some pictures, and I'll roll those in here so you can kind of get an idea of what it would actually look like looking down the sights. Okay, so here's some pictures that I took on my cell phone, kind of looking down the sights, and it's somewhat what it looks like when you in person, when you actually look down it with your own eye. It's kind of hard to get a good representation of what, you know, it looks like from your perspective through a camera, but this is pretty close. So like I said, yeah, these are my first aperture or peep sights. I've never shot with them before, and it took me maybe 2 or 3 times going to the range to get really used to them. But once I did, most of the things that they say about these types of sights are very true. It's much more intuitive. You can be more accurate with these, and it requires a lot less effort. It's just kind of natural aiming. It's kind of hard to describe. These sights also give you a much better sight radius than your stock sights. So you can see the old rear sight right here, and now you get much more distance on the sight radius, which pretty much equates to better accuracy. On this particular model, the ones that are for the Marlin rifles, all the adjustments are on the rear sight here. This knob right here is for windage. You can also use a screwdriver on the other side, or a coin, or whatever. I actually prefer this a lot more because it's kind of stiff to do it with your fingers on this side. And then on the other side, or on the top here, you have this wheel that spins, and you can kind of push. It's got notches in it, so you can kind of push with a poker, or I think what we actually did was we used a Leatherman or some needle nose pliers and just got in there and turned it. It also has, let me come around the camera here, get some better lighting here. It actually has a line right here, and then it's got measurement lines along the base here, so you can mark, I guess, where 0 is. Honestly, I've never used those, but it's kind of a neat thing that they're there. So these were designed in America by a father and a son, but they are manufactured in China. It's a little bit unfortunate, but it is a family company that sells these, so that's a good thing. And they are manufactured actually really well. There's no burrs or anything like that. They're really nice. Everything's smooth. All the adjustments are really smooth on them. You know, you can see the manufacturing it's really top notch. Really nothing to complain about. So here's a little bit more shooting. That steel target we're shooting at is 12 inches across, and it's at 50 yards.
I didn't see it.
So some people may be wondering what this is on the front of the forend. And this is for a bipod attachment. The bipod that I bought came with this, and that's how it attaches. So let's throw it on the bipod and have a little fun.
Of course, I was 19 then. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. M14 doesn't kick that much, and an M16 hardly kicks. It kicks like a 22. Oh.
Let's take a look at the instructions for a second. Feel free to pause and take a closer look if you guys are interested. But really the reason I'm showing you guys this is because if you take a look at the adjustment portion of the instructions, you can see how much each click will change your impact. So at 20 yards, each click is 1/8 of an inch. And then if you push it out to 100 yards, that equates to 5/8 inches at 100 yards. So it's 5/8 inch MOA adjustments at 100 yards, which in my opinion is pretty dang good for iron sights on a 22. So, like I said, these are my first aperture or peep sights that I've ever shot before, and I very much like them a lot more than the stock sights that came on this thing. They are expensive at $69, especially considering that you can get the Marlin for probably 150 bucks, definitely under 200. A lot of people say that you can get them for 100 depending on where you live if they're on sale. So yeah, they're pretty expensive in comparison to the rifle, but for me, it's really improved the experience of shooting this thing. I'm a lot more accurate with these sights. I definitely would recommend getting them if you have a Marlin or even a 1022. For me personally, I would rather have these than a scope, just because a scope adds weight and it also adds to the profile of the gun. It's going to add a lot more mass up here, so it's going to be harder to move around or carry or whatnot. Honestly, with a scope, I don't even think this will fit in the rifle bag I have. So this works out really well. I like them very much. So for me personally, they are worth it. I highly recommend them. Thank you for watching, and be safe. Happy shooting. Missed some.